Hello, everyone. I'm Gayatri Lindsey, and this is just a talk about psychic development and the course that is coming up next week. And we have a question already, so we're just reordering the webinar and going to take this question first. So please ask your question. Thank you.
Yes, sometimes when somebody is looking at you, you know what you want or what she wants. So is this considered a psychic ability?
So I didn't quite catch the end of that. Could you repeat?
Is this considered a psychic ability?
If somebody, okay, I'm struggling a bit with your lovely accent. So what is considered psychic ability?
All right, yeah, I said sometimes actually when you look at somebody, you know what you want.
Ah, right. So yes, you're tuning in. So yes, absolutely. So it's basically, so you can describe it in different ways. So you see somebody and that sparks a recognition within yourself about what it is that you want. Am I describing that correctly?
Right.
Yes. So basically, it's a bit like a signpost, and we get sort of signposts from spirit in many different ways. And often spirit comes to us through other people to give us guidance and to, like, you know, inspire us. So someone might just say something and you're like, hang on a minute, that was a message for me. How did they know that? And they were like, oh, I don't know why I said it. But that was spirit speaking through them to you. So 100%, I would say yes. And it's really good to hone that and to recognize when spirit is talking to you. And spirit will, I had a time when I'd walk a lot, and you know, the big billboards that you see, and pretty much everyone, you know, they would have a message on that, and I was like, oh, that's a sign, because they were all relevant to questions I might have in my mind or what was going on in my life generally. So that particular time in my life, I got so much information just literally walking around, and mainly through images. So images were literally giving me guidance. Sometimes it's through people. I get a lot of guidance through crystals. I chat to them, I ask them questions. But literally yesterday, I was with a friend, we were just having a drink, and I was told, oh, there's a crystal waiting for you in Watkins bookshop, which is a very famous bookshop in London. And I was like, okay. And she's like, oh, where are we going next? I go, oh, I'm going to take you to Watkins, because she'd not been. And I said, oh, there's a crystal there for me. It called me. And I found this incredible crystal. And when I put it in my hand, I couldn't let it go. And it actually immediately started doing healing work on me. And obviously I bought it. And yeah, very powerful carnelian, quite an unusual one. So the short answer is yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. And just to let you know, I have a dear friend of mine, rather than being online, she is with us in person. So the hello and giggle is my favorite.
Hello.
Are you all right to be on screen? She's a little shy.
Sorry.
No, you'll just hear her beautiful voice. So yes, I think, looking at the time, yes, it's 5 past. As I said, there was only one other person due this evening. There's a few more for tomorrow. So I think we'll start. So because we're just 3 of us, and thank you for making the effort to join me today. Do you have any, you know, let's do questions and answers. I mean, you've read the information. I can also do a little, I've got a few meditations we can also do together. But tell us about yourself, first of all.
Myself?
Yes. So what are you, so obviously you're getting inspiration by looking at people, and have you done much work, or you just have your natural talents, or?
Oh,
yes,
no, actually, I don't have that actually. But, you know, as I told you, when I came across your meetup, I read about psychic, and I said, for example, what could be a psychic ability that I have? It comes to my mind this: when you look at somebody, for example, if he's thirsty, you understand that he's thirsty, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but sometimes it's going more than being thirsty or something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't have any psychic, but it's really interesting. So I said, okay, let's join this session and see what's going on.
So a lot of people, what happens is when we are children, our natural abilities are closed down by often parents and just society in general, and school generally doesn't help most children with their psychic abilities. And we generally have naturally maybe one or two which are more developed. So we generally have, it's like some people are fantastic at writing and drawing, and other people are good at talking. So everybody sort of has their, their strengths. And it's the same with the psychic abilities. So some people have a great sense of knowing. So they just know. They don't know why they know. I just know this. And that is a psychic ability, and it comes through. And that's one of the things that I had. And I would often go, I don't know why I need to say this to you, but this is the message that's coming through. Because this is before I trained with my teacher. And I'd often just give messages, and I clueless why I did them. Well, I wasn't clueless. I knew it was coming from somewhere. And the person would always go, oh, no, that's relevant. It was always relevant. Another is a lot of people are feeling, so they will feel things. So again, I have a very heightened sense of feeling. And from what you were saying as well, because you are, it sounds like you're an empath, so you have that empathy and connection. So if you see someone, you can tune in, and you feel that they're thirsty or hungry, or that they're in distress, or they're super happy, and you have that empathy. So that's very beautiful, and that's really a real sign of and if you're an empathic person, then actually doing work to increase that, but also protect, because a lot of empaths will absorb energies from other people because they naturally absorb, but they will absorb all the negative and painful stuff as well as good stuff. So it's really important to learn how to help people without taking their pain and burdens and energetically putting them on ourselves and becoming like a sponge and absorb. That's very common. Again, something I used to do, I just absorbed, and I didn't know how to transmute energy back then. And it's very simple. Like the simplest thing is, if you feel like, oh, why am I feeling so tired and blah, 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 and there's no reason for it rationally, then you probably just absorbed a lot of energies from other people or situations. Just even watching the news, you can just absorb all the crisis in the world. It's like the lockdown was terrible for people, just absorbing all the negativity and the fear. So a simple one to do there is to go out, find a big healthy tree, and literally you just place your hands on the tree and ask it, please, can you take all of the energy that doesn't serve me? And the tree will take it and send it straight down to Mother Earth. And you can also ask for the tree to ground you. You can also ask for the tree to give you some energy, to revitalize you, to refresh you. If you're not somebody who's comfortable putting hands on tree, just straight on the ground. So you can just sit on the ground, place your hands down, and do exactly the same. Just ask Mother Earth, please take any energies that don't belong to me, that are negative, harmful in any way, and just allow that energy to drain out. And again, after it's gone, you could just ask for renewal, for refreshing energy. Just use your own words. And you don't have to say it out loud, you can just say it in your mind. But if you like to speak out loud, that's really nice as well. So that's a very simple way. The other thing, some people are very visual. They see images. Other people hear. So there's the different abilities. And when you train, you heighten your, the original ones that you were good at, but all the other ones start to develop as well. So I never had much sight. I was a very much feeling, knowing person. But then the more I trained with my teachers, the more those, things like the sight, and my hearing is now very good. I hear spirit really well. And that just takes practice. Everything is practice. So if you're interested and you're up for practicing, because it doesn't work if you don't practice, then, you can actually, really develop yourself. Plus you learn how to do it properly. And for me, I got to a point where I was getting all this stuff from spirit, and it was a bit like, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I
What-
need to know what I'm doing. Sorry, you had a question.
Yeah, what is the weirdest psychic ability you ever seen?
You see, I don't really work in the realm of weird. To me, it's all normal.
Right.
So for me, I don't
Or
live in that
rare or
reality of
unique?
what is weird.
Rare or
Me.
unique?
Well, they're okay. Now this is. Do you want something I've seen myself or something I've heard secondhand?
No, you see yourself.
Okay, because I had a good secondhand one there. So that's a really good question. No one's ever asked me, so I'm going to take a moment. I'm also going to ask Maria the same question, because Maria is a lovely friend plus student plus also very psychic.
You can turn off the record and we can see each other. So if she's shy,
No, she's just sat next to me, so you'll hear her answer. It's fine.
all right.
I don't know why, she's looking stunning tonight. So she's got the beautiful eyes. So the question was, what's the most unique sort of psychic thing that you've either experienced yourself or seen, that you've come across maybe in circle and somebody else was doing?
Right. So the first very
You can hear you.
sort of impactful experience I've had was after moving away from my family home here to London. In my dream, I experienced a very traumatic thing that actually happened to my mom many years ago when she was young. And in the dream, I was her, but I could feel that it had nothing to do with me, that it was actually her. So when I then called her and I explained what I had seen in the dream, she said, "Oh my God, how do you know this? This actually happened." And I was like, and I found that obviously very intense to start with. I didn't know what to make of it. And then I just thought, you know what, this is actually, whatever it means, whatever it is, it allowed me to connect to my mother on a different level, on a deeper level, and to have more compassion and understanding for her. And I just let it go. Really, I didn't focus too much on the fact that was weird.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And I've not heard that story, so that's cool. I'd love you to share your ability when you pick up an object that's been owned by someone else, like the clothes and the other things. So this is an ability that I haven't developed very much myself, but Maria has very naturally. So please speak about that.
Thank you. I don't think I have developed it fully, but I do.
I think it's one of your natural ones that is strong.
So a few years ago, when I started thrifting for clothing and little bits and bobs, I for the first time I became aware of how objects absorb people's energy and stories, and I found it interesting to explore that energy and sort of be curious and open, and have obviously having a bit of imagination, sort of creating an idea and a story behind that feeling that the object will give me. So I'm not sure how much of it is just my imagination.
And what do we say when someone starts fobbing off their truth? This is a really important point here. So a lot of people, and I was the same, would be like, "Oh, that can't be true. That's not real," because it's unusual, and we are not encouraged. And it's often, unless you are in a group of people where it's just normal, which it is for me, then a lot of the things that come to us, we will dismiss, ignore. And that's one of the things in the course that I do very early on, is to clear away the blocks of trust, of confidence, where we have been disempowered, where we have been shamed. And this is all new. I taught this course before under a different name called Working with Spirit, which was my teacher Rosalind Jones taught many years in my home. And then I took over from her as she needed to teach in other places. However, since training with Ros, I have now, my main teacher is Peter Aziz, an incredible shaman, English chap who lives in Thailand. Highly recommend him. And he's taught me additional things, which I will now be teaching. And these are the things that I didn't highlight in the first round when I used to teach the Working with Spirit, because I didn't have that to the ability I do now. So when Maria was just, saying her experience of, oh, maybe it was my imagination, that's so common. And many people don't even talk about the unusual things that happen to them, or or they'll just go, oh, I had this silly thought, or this weird thing, as you would, we use those kind of languages to sort of make it a bit jokey in a story, but there's actually part of us going, well, actually maybe it was real. And two, can I talk to anyone about this? Because a lot of people, they're labeled crazy, stupid, fantasies, mentally ill. There's a lot of people who are labeled mentally ill and they're just very psychic. And for instance, people with schizophrenia, they just do not have the filter between their mind and spirit. So spirit is just constant and they get all these voices, very confusing. And they don't have the filter that is required and the training that is required to go, okay, I'm only allowing certain spirits, because there's some real tricksters out there that will guide you into dark places and really mess you up, especially on the astral plane. So people who do a lot of psychedelics, who don't know what they're doing and they don't have a proper guide and teacher or shaman, they get into real trouble and mental health issues can arise. So it's incredibly important that if you're going to develop yourself, that you get proper training and guidance. And if you do choose to do the plant medicines, the psychedelics, etc., that again, you do them in a very safe way. And if you have a problem, you know who to go to ensure that that is rectified. I had a little spate of people who were training with one particular shaman with ayahuasca, and they all had problems after doing the ceremony. And I suddenly had like a little group, they were all coming from Wales to London to have a session with me so I could clear them from all these spirits that were being called in by that particular shaman, who had, what's the word? There had been a dark spirit that had, tricked him to say that it was a good spirit, and he'd allowed that in, and, it was taking energy from all the students that came through him. So he'd been tricked. I didn't actually get a chance to work with the shaman themselves because they were out of the country. But the lady who put everyone in touch with me, she'd had the problem, and she was a very good friend of mine and had done training with my same teacher. And I cleared her, and then she's like, I know other people that they need clearing. So I had that opportunity to assist. But a lot of people, it's now very trendy to do psychedelics. And there's, as one of my teachers says, it's a trendy trap. A lot of people fall down the trap and will go along to ceremonies, and it's not done properly. And if people get into trouble, they're not always looked after, because some people are just about the money, unfortunately. So they'll take your money, but if you get into trouble, then you have to pay them a hell of a lot more to get you out. But they shouldn't have allowed it in the first place. It's a little bugbear of mine. But it's a learning curve for people, and everything happens and people learn and grow from their experiences. So yeah, that's just my opinion. You'll hear other people with radically different opinions on that, and I'm not an authority as such when it comes to psychedelics, as I've never taken any in my life. I work with very gentle medicines like rose, for instance, chamomile and lavender and things like that, which are incredibly powerful plant medicines, but they do not contain the psychedelic element, and therefore the spirits that come with those plant medicines are very gentle and loving. So for me, they are very safe. Yeah, and the more sensitive you are, then actually something like a rose, I did a rose ceremony last week, one of the most deeply healing ceremonies that I've ever been part of in my life was with the rose and with the energies that came in. It was just incredible. So yeah. So any more questions, please ask away. It's really helpful to have questions.
Is this similar to telepathy, or telepathy is considered psychic ability?
Telepath, everybody is telepathic. Again, we're just dumbed down and we're told it's sci-fi nonsense. So everybody, the classic case, everyone accepts going, oh, you know, the phone rang. I was just thinking about so-and-so. I was just thinking about my mum. And then my mum just rang because they got the message telepathically. It just happened to me just before this call. I was thinking of my friend, we're going to be working with pendulum. And I was just, you know, I was just doing some work with my own pendulum to ask a few questions. And then she messaged saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, well, I'm just doing pendulum right now. So she was sort of tuned in. So, and you can really, you know, work on that one. And again, the first thing is about trust and confidence and to know it's true. So when you believe in something, then, and you stop doubting, then that makes, that in itself will, you know, you'll leap up to a much higher level without even practice, just because it's the knowing and the acceptance that it is true. And that's a big thing. Sometimes we have to do a lot of belief work to release certain beliefs that we're all taught through, you know, religion, from, you know, our parents, through our culture, through the school system, through the politics, and all the places that take our power and try and mind control. There's a lot of mind control, especially these days. So we have to clear all that as best that we can. And there's some pretty good techniques to clear. I've just had one from my teacher, Peter Aziz, to clear all the mind control that's currently out there. And it's really, they're ramping it up. So it's an amazing empowerment attunement, which I would recommend everyone to take. It's not very expensive. So yes, it is true. And it's something that you can develop very easily. Anything else? Maria, any questions?
Not yet.
Not yet. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about myself. So if you have a question, please, you know, raise your hand or let me know. So as I've mentioned already, I already had some abilities, but I didn't have the specific training that was required. And I've forgotten the year now, but it's probably a good 8-9 years ago. I met this lovely lady called Rosalind Jones, through a mutual friend. And she'd done a lot of development work herself. And we became friends. And it was very interesting because as soon as she came into my life, I suddenly had all these people having issues that needed to be cleared by somebody who worked with spirit. So I kept going, oh, I know a lady down in Kent. Her name is Ros. Here are her details. So I was just like a funnel. So people would ask me because, you know, in the community I'm well known, and people would ask. And I go, oh, Ros will help. You know, I'm not that level yet developed. So, you know, better to go and ask somebody who has, you know, a higher ability than me. So, and then I was like, Ros, is there any chance that you could come to London and teach a little course? Because I've got all these people who need your assistance. And rather than them always asking you individually, if you teach us, then, you know, we can deal with more ourselves. And she's like, yes, of course. And initially she did a 4-week course. It was sort of like November, December time. And everybody loved it who came. And we were like, oh, could you do some more? And then she's like, yes, of course. And then what she did was then she'd come every other week and we'd have a circle. So it would be the same people each time. So it was a closed circle of development. And then obviously, you know, sometimes people had to drop out or things happen. So every so often she'd do another introductory course, so to train people up. And then those who wanted to continue developing, which was pretty much everybody who ever came to the course, they would then join the circle. And this continued for many years. And then I remember, I think it was like in February, Spirit said to me one day, it was in the morning, it was like, you need to start doing the introductory course and Ros to continue the, you know, the regular development circle. And I spoke to her and she's like, yes, of course. So I started to do that and I made it 6 weeks rather than 4. And then Ros said, okay, I now need to go and teach in other spaces and places. So she had basically got me to the point where I could take over the ongoing circle, which I did. However, then we had lockdown and it wasn't, it wasn't something that I could maintain during lockdown. So in fact, all my work was reduced a lot because most of my work was in person. Well, in fact, all my work was in person back then. And but in 2020, during the lockdown, I'd already done some stuff with Peter Aziz, but he had it's called Darkness course. It's all about your shadow work. And that was a place that I hadn't spent much time developing, working with shadow and integrating shadow. And so I took the opportunity to do that course. It was life-changing, wonderful. And then since then, I've been doing his courses and the Ultimate Healing course he has, which is incredible. It's in 2 parts. So I started part 1 and I've nearly finished that now. And I'm doing part 2 next month. And that and other things I've learned with Peter over the last few years have, as I said before, really given me the next, I'd say, several layers up from where I was, or levels, than when I was, you know, training with Ros. So, because I've been practicing. And then also when you go to other teachers, each teacher is unique, what they've learned and what they're offering. So it's really good to go to more than one. Often it's good to train with one for a period of time. And when you feel like, okay, I've got what they've got to give, and then you'll find another teacher and they'll take you further along your path. So I know from my own experience, you know, people will come, they will study and train with me for a certain while. And it's wonderful because they've developed and they're like, okay, now it's time for them to go and study with someone else or become their own teacher. But teachers generally always have a teacher. I mean, regardless of my own ability, I will always have a teacher because I'm always developing and growing and learning. So even my teacher, Peter Aziz, who I think is like a master, he's a master, but he still is in contact with his teachers around the world. He's trained in many traditions around the world. So it's lovely that, you know, he still goes and gets information, and like the empowerment for the mind control actually came from one of his Tibetan teachers. So that was given to Peter, and then Peter gave it to his students. And then his students like me will then, you know, tell other people about it. And that's how, you know, things go. So yeah. Any questions about my own journey or anything else that's come to your mind at all? Are you still with us? Okay, I don't know, maybe Maria, anything for you or anything you'd like to share of your own journey?
Well, what you said earlier about the knowing and the acceptance of the knowing, that's where I'm at.
Yes, I kind of guess. Sometimes it's not psychic, it's just obvious.
So yes, just trusting more.
Yes,
that's where.
So we need to. So one of the things I'm going to be teaching is the discreation process. So we would discreate any beliefs that Maria and other people have, which causes this lack of confidence and trust. So that's one of the most important things that Peter has taught. It's very simple. But if you don't know to do it and you don't actually practice it, then it slows down development in all areas of your life. So yeah, well, that's one to make a note. We'll discreate that one.
Brilliant,
And
thank
Maria
you.
knows about discreation. We've done some things recently. So sometimes it's just a reminder of like, oh, have you discreated that one yet? And you're like, oh no, I better go and do that. So that's probably something we will do after this call. So yeah, brilliant. Anything else that popped up while I was talking?
Yes, you mentioned the pendulum.
Yes.
I've always been very drawn to them, but I never used them.
Pendulums are fantastic and super easy. So this is a beautiful wooden one. And then you can also get them. I'm actually wearing one. So it's quite handy. So if you want to keep a pendulum on you, you just put it on a chain. So that's another one that you can put on a chain. This one is more traditional. That was a gift, that one. And this is a very cute little one. That was the one I was using earlier. I mentioned that I had a few questions, so this pendulum helped me out. So pendulums are super easy, and I'm actually going to do a YouTube video on Friday with my friend on how to clear the energies first. So whenever you work with something, you clear, and then bless it, speak to it, and then what's the word? Program it for its purpose, as long as it's happy to be a pendulum. Because some things are created, like, so somebody made this as a pendulum, but this crystal might not want to be a pendulum. So you have to find out first. So you talk to the pendulum, and you either get a knowing, you'll get a sense, you'll hear it speak, whatever your abilities are, or you may just feel that it's a yes or a no, for instance. So you would do that, and then you would bless it with your energy. So, you're communing with it because it's working with you in terms of your senses. And then you would check what is your yes and what is your no. So everybody has different. So some people go backwards and forwards for a yes, and somebody else, that will be their no. Or go in, circle anti-clockwise and clockwise. So they can mean different things. So once you've established what's yes, what's no, then you just simply ask a question which only can be answered with a yes or a no. And often if it's static, it's like a maybe. You need to ask a better question. And then, of course, whenever you work with your tools, when you've finished, you always thank them. And if you have an object that you have programmed, like a crystal for purpose, if you're no longer using that object for that purpose, then you need to deprogram it. So it's released from that contract, basically. And I treat them as friends. So I always, say hello. I always thank them. And I know that they're here to help. So if I'm not using them and they just sit somewhere and they get dusty, they're not happy. So it's then you can ask, I'm not using you. Would you like to go to somebody else? Or would you like to be returned to the earth, for instance, if it's a crystal? So, but as I said, I'm going to do, hopefully the video will be done on Friday. I don't think it's going to be very complicated in terms of editing. So that will probably go up this weekend or very early next week. So there'll be a thorough explanation, as in I'll be doing it so you can follow along.
Thank you.
But that's pretty much what I've just said as well. So it's it's like a practice run for the video. Thank you. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Anything else, Maria?
Where do we start?
We start next week. So we have two options. So on the 24th of May at 7 p.m. British summertime, there's an in-person version of this course in my home in Elephant and Castle. And that's open to 9 people. But nowadays we have the option of an online version. So I'm going to be doing that on the Thursday, the 25th, same time, 7 p.m. It's 2 hours. And so basically I'll be doing the in-person version Wednesday and then the online on Thursday. And because I would have done Wednesday already, when it comes to Thursday, I'm going to do a recording. So it will be recorded. So it means anybody who couldn't make Wednesday can watch Thursday's recording. And if for any reason somebody can't make the Thursday, they can go and watch the recording, so you don't miss out on any of the training. So that is the gift of the online courses, is that you record so people can access those things at a later date, so you never miss out. And of course, if you have any specific questions that didn't get answered, you can bring those up in the next session. So it's an 11-week course. However, there's 2 weeks that are integration. So there'll be homework during those weeks, but there won't be a live class. There is a possibility I might do a recording for those weeks. I haven't decided that yet. I'm being told that that's quite likely. It's just being told now. Because Spirit teaches it all. So I turn up, but it's not me. So most of the things will be coming, through from Spirit. I find it very easy to allow Spirit just to speak through me. Yeah, so that's they're just now telling me I can do the recordings. So at the moment there's 2 integration weeks, which means the course is over 13 weeks, but there's 2 times we're not meeting in live. And so it finishes the 9th and 10th of August. It's £187 for the whole course. Now, if you are, if payment is difficult in one lump sum, that's fine. We can always arrange, installments, etc. So I always want to make everything, accessible. And then the lovely thing is, once you've done the course, you qualify for the circle. So that will be a closed circle with only people who've done the training. So everybody is to a certain level when they join the circle. So, regardless of where people are, they'll do the course and then they can join the circle. And the circle will run every other week, and that will be online. I may or may not do an in-person version, depends on numbers. So if the numbers are not enough for in-person, I'll start it all online. And then once I do the course again, more people will be joining, and then I might have 2 of those, so in-person and online. Again, they will be recorded, so if you miss a session, not a problem. And also, you only have to pay for the month. It's a monthly subscription. So if, for instance, you're going to go away, you can just decide, okay, I'm going to stop the subscription, and then when you're back, you just rejoin. Or if you're happy to watch the recordings and learn that way, you can keep your subscription going. So again, it's not a lot of money up front, it's just a monthly fee. So that will be, all the details will be given to you nearer the end of the course. So yes, that's sort of the admin side of things. Do you have any other questions before we close today? Either of you? Okay, so what I'd like to do is just a little tuning in. So you may join in, or if you just feel to watch, it's, whatever you prefer. So it's always useful to sit up straight, but in a very relaxed way. So it's not like sort of stiff and like a soldier kind of things, but to keep the spine aligned, because the spine is an antennae, and it's also where, the chakras are aligned there. So, and we drop the chin just slightly, so we're not sticking it out. So, and you can just imagine a beautiful silver thread or golden thread pulling you up from the crown, and you're relaxed underneath. So the thread is keeping you upright, but your body is relaxed. So in order to do any work, we need to create a container, safe space, a circle, and protection. And in order to do that, we need relaxation. So in order to do anything to a high quality degree, relaxation is the key. So it doesn't matter if you don't meditate and things like that. That will naturally start to develop just by doing the course, because we're doing a lot of where we sit, we align, and we relax. And one of the easiest ways to activate a relaxation response is to take a deep breath and then relax. So the breathing in And then just letting go on the out breath. So it's not a forced, relaxed out breath. You just breathe in and relax. And then gently, you let go of the focus of the in-breath. You just gently in and out. And if you have any tension in your mind or your body, just bring the breath. So you breathe into the space that may be tense. And again, relax. And on the out breath, just allowing that area just to unwind, open and soften. We're just doing that now, just the focus on yourself, breathing in and relaxed out. You can blow out through the mouth, through the nose, whatever's comfortable. Everybody is different. And you can experiment, see what works best for you. It's very important to try different things. You may surprise yourself. Breathing in and out. And again, notice any tension. So once you may have released one part of your body, then the tension in another part shows itself. So you breathe in maybe into your knees. Your mind might be chattering, so you just breathe into your mind space. And let the chatter literally go with the out breath. Any tension, stories in your mind, breathe in and let the stories and the dramas just dissolve. Breathe into your heart space. And just notice how your heart is feeling. Is it needing a bit of love, a bit of TLC? Has it been overburdened recently? Is it vibrant and full and overflowing with abundance and love? Just noticing. There's no judgment. Judgment isn't helpful. Noticing is very helpful. We notice, we observe. And sometimes just observing, that will shift. So you don't actually have to do anything but be observing. And we know through the scientific principle that by observing something, it changes it. So we just observe ourselves. We are our own experiment. And then if you're familiar with the chakras, you can work on any of the chakras. You're breathing in and just noticing. You may have like with the throat, a lot of people don't speak their truth for lots of different reasons. And without judgment of why you weren't able to, you just can release all the words that you didn't get an opportunity to say. You breathe in and let it go. Don't hold on. We hold on to so much in our bodies, in our aura, in our space. And that's what causes dis-ease. So as well as psychic development, there will be a lot of healing on this course because they go hand in hand. So developing your abilities and healing are the same thing because we can't advance without healing the things that are in the way. And the key, again, is that relaxation, just trusting yourself and your body. Your body knows what to do. You can switch off the mind. The mind is a wonderful tool, but we need to direct it in what we want. And again, this is what we're going to learn on the course. So our heart, you can put your heart as the master. So allow your heart to be in control and direct your life. Your life will radically change for the better. And then the heart will tell the mind what to do. And the mind will obey. The mind is a servant. Allow the heart to be the master. That in itself is a radical, wonderful thing. And what all the sages and the prophets speak of. None of this information that I'll be sharing is new. It is all well established. Just a lot of it is in very terms and words that are maybe unfamiliar. So all we're doing is bringing what is already there into focus and into a language that everybody can understand for this day and age. So that's all we're doing here, is the ability to tune into all the things that we naturally have as human beings. So we're these beings of love and light. But most of us have had our light dimmed at some point in our life, and often multiple times, through disempowerment, through shame, through beliefs that are not helpful, through a poor diet. So diet is very important. It really makes a huge difference. So eating a good diet, and I'm covering this as one of the classes. I've learned a lot, not that long ago, through the medical medium tradition. He's fantastic when it comes to what the body really needs to deeply heal. And in order to improve, as we said, healing and psychic development is one. So the food needs to be part of that and not to be forgotten. So I'm just going to be pausing in silence for a moment. So let's go deeper. Just do your breath. Notice how you feel. I could sit here for a very long time. So just take a little snapshot. How do you feel in this moment compared to before we started this little exercise? And then whenever we open up, once we have completed our work, we must always close. It's very important. Otherwise, we go out in the world totally open and absorb everything. So one of the important things is always to close. There's many, many techniques, but very simply is you rub your hands together and then you pause, put the hands back to back, palms together, back to back, and then zip up your aura. Zip. So the rubbing of the hands breaks the connection of the energy field, and then you close your energy and your chakras. So it's actually from the theta healing tradition, which I've studied. And it's a very quick, you can literally just, you can also wash your hands is very good. That's with soap and water, and also maybe a little bit of the arms. That's a very good way of clearing, especially if you feel like you've picked things up from somewhere. So if you've been out and about, you come home, wash your hands, and just energetically as well. But yeah, rubbing hands, palms, and back of hands, and zipping up. So that's a really good little close. The other thing is if you've gone very deep and you need to really embody, because you're maybe going home or doing something, is tapping. Just tapping, waking the body back up fully into the present moment, and also stroking the body. And you can rub hands together and just breathe in the energy that's created through the rubbing. So when you rub your hands together, you create energy, and you can breathe in, especially if you've got any soreness, people who work on computers and stuff, you can just bring the energy there. But it also brings the focus back to your body. So you're embodied, you're not spaced out and all sort of ungrounded. So grounding, closing, all these things, super simple, just practice. And when you do it, when you've learned it, it just becomes natural, like brushing your teeth. So just little practices like that make a huge difference. I was speaking to a neighbor yesterday, incredible guy, he's training to be a psychologist. And he said, I get very drained after I have so many sessions with my clients. He's training now with clients. And I go, well, do you clear the connection? Do you do a proper close afterwards? He goes, no. It's like, oh, okay. So I just taught him that yesterday in the landing. And we're going to do a bit more work together. So he'll know how to open and protect himself. So he doesn't just absorb all his clients' issues and problems and energies, which is what he's doing, which is very draining. So yeah, they're very practical tools for life. Everything that is being taught, they're life tools basically. And once you've learned them, because they're simple, when you meet somebody else who's having trouble and they don't know, you can teach them yourself. So that's a lovely thing. So nothing that I'm teaching can't be passed on. So once you've learnt it thoroughly for yourself and know that you have the confidence to do it for yourself, you can share it with your friends and families or colleagues or whoever you meet. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little exercise. Maria, any feedback? Like before and after?
I enjoyed it, and I feel so relaxed. I had just finished work, so I sat down, but I wasn't fully present, and now I feel fully present, relaxed. The monkey mind is quiet.
Wonderful.
And yeah, the shoulders, the drop, my jaws dropped. Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. So I hope that helped you as well. So thank you so much for joining me today on this little webinar. And if you are interested in joining the course that starts next week, and if you're watching this video another time, I will be doing more courses, plus I do one-to-ones. So please get in touch if there's anything of interest, or if you just like a chat. Always lovely to talk with people and to guide them in, you know, sometimes people ask me questions and go, oh, I know the perfect person for you. So sometimes it's not me that I would recommend. Sometimes it's my teacher, or it might be a book. It could be anything. So feel free to get in touch. It's a real joy for me to help people on their journey. I've been helped by so many magnificent people over the years. So it's always a joy to do that for others as well. So Gayatri Lindsey Robertson, Rebirthandawaken is my where you can find me online on the regular social media sites. I'm not going to mention them all, but it's very easy to find me online, and do get in touch. And I hope you maybe learned something from today, or just from the meditation, you enjoyed that space and time for yourself. So go well, and blessings, dear ones. Thank you so much.